The entire team at Arcane Lyon is, pouring so much love into this immersive third-person action-adventure set in the heart of Paris. So please sit back, let us cook, and voilà! Merci beaucoup! Merci!
Wow, whoa! Stunts too. Digga Bell, thank you very much, guys. Great announcement. All right, awesome. Thanks, Digga. All right.
Well, if Microsoft decides to not be total scumbags and actually chooses to leave Arcane Lyon alone, then I think, or at least I hope, that this game will be just fine. But regardless, welcome back, true believers and all you merry Marvelites out there, to a very interesting and extremely long overdue Marvel games related video. And boy, have I missed saying that. Apologies for the lack of videos, everybody, but I have simply been beyond busy outside of YouTube. But on top of that is that there hasn't really been any major Marvel games news occurring lately. And while there have been certain rumblings of specific things within the Marvel games universe happening here and there, nothing that has been officially concrete has been revealed thus far. But on the flip side, it might end up being a blessing in disguise that we haven't heard anything majorly new from Marvel games in the recent weeks, because the current state of the gaming industry as it stands right now is absolutely atrocious. And for any of you who actually follow me on social media, more specifically Twitter or X, which I do highly suggest that you do if you want to keep up to date with all my recent updates, is that I have been straight up outraged given everything that's going on within the gaming industry, and more specifically is how exactly these particular developers are being treated. So if you want to dive into all this massive gaming news with me, which I will be making daily uploads about in the coming days, then definitely be sure to thwip that like button and subscribe to the channel for even more Marvel games videos and gaming news down the line. So to kick things off all the way from the beginning of where this news originated from, is that last week on May 7th, it was officially announced by Microsoft themselves that they in fact will be closing Redfall developer Arcane Austin, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks, and more in devastating cuts at Bethesda. And if any of these developers' names sound familiar, is that we do know for a fact that Arcane Lyon, which is a different studio from Arcane Austin, are in fact the developers currently working on the upcoming AAA Blade game. However, it is important to clarify that despite these absolutely disgusting studio closures, we are fully aware that other subsidiary companies under Microsoft's ownership, like that of Bethesda Game Studios, Machine Games, ID Software, and yes, even Arcane Lyon, are still going to be alive and kicking. Or on a darker note, is that they are still alive and kicking as it stands right now, because they are currently working on massive budget projects. But if they weren't working on these games, then I honestly don't know what that would have meant for these companies in general. And reportedly is that these aren't going to be the only studio closures that Microsoft has executed. It only seems like that it's the beginning. So above everything else, there's really only one main thing that I desperately want to say to everyone in charge over at Microsoft.
Fuck Microsoft!
Okay.
Fuck!
This is pure evil, and is honestly the biggest example of corporate greed that I have ever seen within the gaming industry. Now let's be real, 2023, while it was a great year for games, it wasn't necessarily the best year for game developers and how they were treated given the massive amount of layoffs that occurred last year. And surprise, surprise, the same exact thing is happening again now within 2024. Now, it obviously sucks when any gaming studio is closed due to layoffs, but the biggest reason why this particular announcement has gone over so poorly amongst the entire gaming community is primarily because of one studio in particular, and that main studio goes to Tango Gameworks, who, if you have absolutely no idea who they are, they're the main developers responsible for hit games like The Evil Within, Ghostwire Tokyo, but the main one that stands out the most to me and various others is none other than Hi-Fi Rush, which was an absolute smash hit that came out at the beginning of last year and only recently came out to a re-release on the PlayStation 5. And coming from me personally, as someone who has played that game from start to finish multiple times, I'm genuinely not kidding when I say that Hi-Fi Rush has become one of my top 5 video games of all time. And not only did I thoroughly love the game, but but several other people that played it did as well, which then led Tango to end up receiving massive amounts of critical reception and praise from its overall gaming community, and as a result, even received various gaming awards to celebrate their success. And even with all of those positive factors in mind, Microsoft still decided to shut down that studio completely, as well as other studios that were doing the exact same thing by simply making killer and awesome games.
Wait, this is all an overly complicated plan to sell more product?
Do you have any idea how difficult it is to make something people actually want to buy? It's ridiculously hard! Hey, a new whatever! Well, what color, what model, size, speed, do I need it? All that stress, gone. Because we'll subconsciously make that decision for you.
This is so corporate.
I know, right?
To put it as bluntly as possible is that Microsoft, a trillion-dollar company, abruptly closed 4 Bethesda game studios in a move that many people view as an extremely perplexing betrayal. And at the end of the day, this isn't just about closing down game studios. Rather, it's about extinguishing the creative spark that gave us so many gaming treasures like Ghostwire Tokyo, Prey, and most of all, Hi-Fi Rush. These are all game studios that have track records of accomplishments, and easily have the capacity to create experiences that would define their respective genres for many years to come. The leadership going on over at Xbox by the main studio heads of Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, and Matt Booty is a flat-out embarrassment. They talk about investing in beloved franchises and prioritizing high-impact titles, but this entire closing frenzy runs a direct counter to the idea of creating a varied and creative gaming environment which Xbox is seemingly wanting to curate. This is not just about making calculated business decisions from a publisher's perspective, but more importantly is that this is about the cost of human creativity. All of these talented developers who gave these studios their all are now faced with an uncertain future. And as for the developers that Xbox owns, which are still currently around, I know for a fact that they must be out of their minds scared shitless, worried whether or not they still could have a job by the very next day. That is until Microsoft decides to get rid of them completely just to save a few bucks. The main takeaway to look at, given all this horrible news surrounding all these studios closing, is that Microsoft is sending a terrible message. One in which artistic freedom and risk-taking, as well as overall creativity, are not valued within the Xbox ecosystem. And for those of you like me who thoroughly appreciate video games as an art form, the message that they're sending with these studio closures and this news as a whole hits very damn hard, and only ends up making things look even more grim and bleak for where the future of Xbox is headed. One of which that I will gladly not be participating in. So at this point, you're probably asking yourself, Evan, what in God's green earth does any of this news with Xbox have to do with Marvel's Blade? Well, in case you forgot, is that Marvel's Blade is indeed being developed by Arcane Leon, which, to clarify, is a gaming studio owned underneath the Bethesda Game Studios banner. And if you've been following all this news so far, you would know that that means as a subsidiary company to Bethesda, Microsoft directly owns Bethesda, and therefore, Microsoft also owns Arcane Leon, which is why it was heavily implied when Marvel's Blade was originally announced that it seemed like it was going to be a full-on Xbox exclusive, just like what we've seen with Spider-Man being a PlayStation exclusive for Insomniac and Sony. Now, to reiterate this entire situation is that we haven't heard any official news about the current status of Marvel's Blade since these studio closures occurred, and the only official details that we have about the game so far is what we've been told back during the Game Awards of last year, and that the team over at Arcane Leon are still very much heavily within its development. But the biggest thing that stood out to me during all this crazy Microsoft news is how the main man behind Marvel's Blade actually decided to respond to all these studio layoffs, where Dinga Bakaba, who is the studio and co-creative director at Arcane Leon working on Marvel's Blade, came out and said the following: "This is absolutely terrible. Permission to be human. To any executive reading this, friendly reminder that video games are an entertainment and cultural industry, and your business as a corporation is to take care of your artists and entertainers and help them create value for you. Don't throw us into gold fever gambits. Don't use us as straw men for miscalculations and blind spots. Don't make our work environments Darwinist jungles. You say we make you proud when we make a good game. Make us proud when times are tough. We know you can. We've seen it before. For now, great teams are sunsetting before our eyes again, and it's an effing gut stab. Leon is safe, but please be tactful and discerning about all this, and respect affected folks' voice and leave it room to be heard. It's their story to tell, their feelings to express. Inside baseball, but if I read immersive sim curse from the community, especially from a fellow dev, I swear to God, please, let's talk about the real challenges instead of rehashing irrational anxieties of the past. Even more inside baseball, but with a very, very wide range, as a wise and sorely missed man said, please stop. So for those of you who pretty much have no idea what Dinga is talking about, that was his overall response to the entire situation going on with Microsoft handling these studio closures. And basically, Dinga decided to step up and directly talk out against the executives over at Xbox. He could pretty much lose his job for saying something like this to these higher paid executives, but is choosing to do so regardless, simply in favor of respecting the art of video games and their hardworking developers. And that alone deserves all the praise in the world. Listen, making a video game, let alone any video game, is a very hard thing to do, and it can easily get even more annoying and tiresome when the publisher that should be fostering you and leading you to a better tomorrow is instead completely deciding to get rid of you with the blink of an eye. And knowing that Dinga is one of many passionate game developers who are equally deciding to speak out against Xbox is undoubtedly a great thing to see. And I can only hope that Xbox finally gets it through their thick skulls that this was easily one of, if not the most stupidest decisions to make within the entirety of gaming industry history. And at the same time, knowing that a passionate individual like Dinga is in fact leading the charge for Marvel's Blade only makes me want to support the game even more. So fingers crossed that we can learn more official details about this game sooner rather than later, and that everyone over at Arcane Leon can still have a suitable environment to make this game the best that it can possibly be. And with all that said, everybody, that's the video I have for all you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think about this utterly disgusting news coming from Microsoft? And out of everything that you would like to see, what would you want Arcane Leon to incorporate within this Marvel's Blade game? Let me know what you think. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and for more Marvel games videos like this in the future. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay merry, Marvelites, and until next time, peace out.